Hello, everyone. Good morning or good afternoon. Very warm welcome from Faronics, and welcome to this webinar about how we at Faronics can help IT managers who have to look after computers that see a lot of users over the course of a typical day. So this might be relevant to computers in schools, maybe, or libraries, universities, hotels, or retail and hospitality, places like reception desks, anywhere really where you've got several users using the same device over the course of a day, and you as an IT manager have a set of problems that are associated with that. I'm Tom, so I'll be taking today's session. Thank you very much for joining. But really, the main message here is we know you've got a tough job as an IT manager, and we're here to make it easier for you. So, as a user using a multi-user computer, so if you're sitting at a computer, maybe in a school or a library, um, what you see are computers that work, and you are happy about that. You don't really think about everything that goes on behind the scenes. So you've got the tip of the iceberg visible to you, but obviously it's a big old iceberg that you as an IT manager are kind of trying to keep afloat. You're preventing ransomware attacks, you're blocking executable files, your antivirus is stopping your computers getting infected, and you've got software updates that you need to deliver, often time consuming and painful. All that goes into a happy user experience for the the user of the multi-user computer, but it's not that straightforward. This is what you might feel like as a IT manager trying to look after all those devices. There's a set of challenges that come with that. So often, especially if you're working in education, you've probably got a limited budget, and that might restrict your ability to upgrade, to purchase new equipment, or hire new staff. Security concerns are paramount, especially in education, but really not just in education, but in education, that data is sensitive. Student data is sensitive. Faculty information is sensitive. So that makes educational devices prime targets for cyber attackers. So an IT manager's got to put in place really strong security measures to protect against data breaches. You're dealing with a large and diverse user base, often including students if we're talking about education, but even if you're not talking about education in hotels or maybe in retail or in a call center, for example, lots of different people. So makes it harder to kind of train your users, promote strong behaviors and solve technical issues quickly. Device management may be hard if you've got a variety of devices, um, including mobile devices, and then software licensing. So it's hard to keep those devices compliant. Um, and it's not surprising with all those challenges that you might feel like a firefighter. You might feel like you're forever putting out fires. You're moving from one disaster to the next. You might feel like you're not really using your resources effectively. All the resources here being used to put out one fire, but it doesn't really have to be like that because Faronics has a set of tools that can get you out of this reactive mode, get you back on the front foot, and get you spending your time on strategy rather than on firefighting and admin. So I'm just going to introduce Deep Freeze, which can really help you with all of these problems that you would have with multi-user computers. Deep Freeze is a really simple concept, which is reboot to restore. If you enable Deep Freeze on a computer, then anytime you restart that computer, it will restart in its original state. Any local changes made by whoever used that computer will disappear. And you might be thinking that all your students are going to lose all their work all the time if you're in an education environment. But there's no need for that to happen because it can all be synced to the cloud drive. So there are several benefits of deep freeze. Benefit one, you are going to kill help desk tickets. So thinking about all those problems introduced by many different users using the same computer over the course of a day, all the issues they cause you, all the problems they're having, all well, pretty much all of those problems are resolved with a restart. So if there's configuration creep or even if there's a more serious problem than that, the support team just has to restart the computer and you're not requiring technical expertise to deliver that. So if you are, say, in maybe a library or a gym or somewhere where there isn't necessarily an IT person ready to help immediately, then that person doesn't require technical expertise to know that they just have to restart the problem and it's gone. Restart the computer and the problem is gone. So the second benefit is the security benefit. Deep freeze is a very powerful layer of security. If something bad happens, suppose you have a virus or a ransomware attack, you have malicious code in your estate, you know with deep freeze that all you have to do is restart that computer and you have recovered from the bad thing that happens, especially on multi-user computers. You don't necessarily trust your users. You don't know if they're going to be using their computers safely, but you can basically de-restrict everything and you know that you're always going to return that device to a pristine state. You're going to eliminate that bad thing. The third benefit is data privacy. So in this picture, you can see that's quite a typical school kind of setup where lots of computers are going to be using those devices. Then at the end of the lesson, those kids are going to leave the classroom and a whole new set are going to walk in and sit down at those computers. And there's no reason for anyone's data to be compromised. You can maintain data privacy. You can set a restart task maybe on the hour. That cleans the device out. And the new students do not have access to the previous students' data. Fourth benefit is that you're going to prevent configuration creep. You want to maintain a consistent state, a consistent experience, and deep freeze allows that. Every session is going to start with a computer in the same state. The fifth benefit is that you're going to slow the effect of hardware degradation. Now, if you have a room full of computers, then you've spent a lot of money on those computers. They're not cheap. You want them to last as long as possible. You don't want to be replacing them every few years because they slow down. With deep freeze, you really diminish the impact of hardware degradation because instead of all those users, like if a computer's got 10 users over the course of a day and those 10 users are adding lots of files and folders all the time, that will slow the performance of the computer down and eventually it won't be usable or it'll need maintenance. Uh, Deep freeze ensures that each session starts with a computer in a pristine state. So you don't have that issue with hardware degradation. Well, obviously, sorry, you still do have the issue, but it's very much reduced. All hardware eventually will run out of juice, but with deep freeze, you are prolonging the life of your hardware and therefore saving a lot of money. Okay, so I'm now going to move on to a live demo to show you what deep freeze looks like in action, along with a set of tools that you can use alongside deep freeze. So if I turn on deep freeze in my policy, then I've got a green tick against deep freeze in my policy, and that means that deep freeze is enabled. So on this multi-user device, running this policy, deep freeze is going to work. And any changes made by any local user are going to disappear on restart. I can also deliver my Windows updates alongside deep freeze. So I can set a workstation task, a Windows update task, and I might say on a Wednesday morning at 1 in the morning and maybe until 2 in the morning, I want my Windows updates to deliver, and we'll wake the devices up at 2 in the morning. We'll shut them down again at the end of the maintenance window. And my Windows updates will deliver at that specified time. And I'm not going to disrupt my users, and I'm going to maintain compliance. When Microsoft issue a critical security update, that critical security update is going to be live in my multi-user computers, which is really important for security. If I prefer, I can deliver my Windows updates on demand. So I can just hit install missing patches, or I can look patch by patch, computer by computer. I can see critical updates. I have some critical updates pending approval. Here they are. I'll just select and approve. And I can have a look at my security definition. I can look at each category of update and I can go click by click if I prefer to do it that way. Or, as I said, I can deliver my updates via the policy. The same with software updates. So software updates are really important for multi-user computers. You want to provide the optimum user experience, deliver all the latest features, and also make sure that when patches are delivered by software vendors, that those patches are live, reducing your security risk. There's no reason to delay software updates because you can automate the whole thing. Here on my applications page, the applications page of my policy, I can just select the applications that I want to keep up to date. I've got a long list here that I just have to select the ones I want. I don't have to package these up. Faronics is doing the packaging for me, nor do I have to deliver or verify. So I just have to schedule my maintenance periods, say between midnight and 1 o'clock on a Wednesday. And then I always know what version of what software I'm running and where. So just looking at web browsers, for example, I can see that Opera Chromium is out of date on that device. I'll just update it. Maybe I don't want Firefox on that device. I'll uninstall it. So install, uninstall, update, very easy, saves a huge amount of time for a typical IT manager of a multi-user computer. Now, WinSelect is a really powerful tool for, especially popular this is in libraries, where you want to provide a totally consistent desktop experience. It's also used in reception desks and hotels. So by turning on kiosk mode there, I can customize the desktop. I can say to my users, all of my hundreds of users, you only have one desktop. This is what it looks like. These are the header elements, the body elements, the footer elements. So you know that that's all your users can do. Like you're limiting them. They can't mess around too much because you're restricting them from doing so. And you can further restrict users who you might not necessarily trust overly. So maybe you're worried that students might harm your computers, maybe deliberately, maybe accidentally. But there's a whole host of restrictions you can place on them. So you can stop them right-clicking, folder manipulation, dragging and dropping. Control panel, you can show hide all or hide selected. Desktop and Windows taskbar, you can customize. maybe you don't want your users to have access to certain drives. You can stop them accessing those drives. Maybe you are worried about USB drives, in which case you can disable removable drives. Certain file extensions, start menu, you can say, I'm going to enable all or disable all, or you can disable selected. And then there's a whole set of restrictions on Windows 8 and Windows 10 apps in the taskbar. Network restrictions you can enable, and hotkeys. Maybe you don't want hotkeys, in which case you can disable them. So WinSelect is a really powerful way of limiting the damage that users can cause you. Applications, you can allow only selected applications or disallow. Printers, you can enable printer quota, disable all or disable selected. Maybe you want to have like 8 pages per session, and then that's all your users can print in the course of a day and in the course of a session. Maybe you want to display an acceptable use policy to your users at startup, and especially useful if you have lots of users using not enough devices. You can limit the number of minutes in a session. So you can say, okay, we'll have 50 minutes per session, and then number of codes I'll generate, say 80 codes. That code is then required to access the device, and at the end of that session, it's someone else's turn rather than having one person hogging the device for the whole time. Okay, then we have antivirus. So again, really important for multi-user devices, just stopping those bad things getting to you in the first place before they cause you too much problems. You can have active protection here and firewall protection. You've got all these settings for computer settings and how you want your scan and your quarantine to work, and your firewall protection. And finally, anti-executable. So this is another powerful layer of protection. You can stop your users from running executable files that you don't want. So it's basically an advanced whitelisting tool. Any executable file that you're not sure about, they don't run it. So if you've got a student doing something that they shouldn't be doing, well, it's not going to work, and your time is not going to be wasted cleaning up afterwards. Although, of course, with deep freeze, it would just be a restart. Okay, so just to summarize then, the layers of security within this product, Faronics Cloud Deep Freeze, that are going to with are going to reduce your risk of attack. So your computers are getting attacked all the time, and you might find you're losing those battles, but you want to pile up as many layers of protection as you can. Antivirus is the first layer of protection, but obviously sometimes a hacker can break through that and turn off your antivirus. It's going to stop all the obvious bad stuff like viruses, worms, Trojans. Sometimes definitions are not up to date. If something bad makes it through antivirus, then you're up against the second layer, which is Faronics anti-executable. So this is a really strong whitelisting tool. It's only going to allow approved programs through, like it's going to stop anything else, like targeted attacks, zero-day threats, and mutated viruses. The third layer of protection is software updates. So having an application installed on your multi-user computer doesn't necessarily guarantee that it's going to be kept up to date, but you can schedule your software updates to go live almost as soon as they're ready without disrupting any users. The fourth layer of protection is Windows updates. Very often there's a massive variation in builds and patches in the same estate, but it can be messy and complex, can be hard to manage, can be risky. But You can simplify all that. You can keep everything consistent and centralized, and you can close that ransomware window. Kiosk mode, very important for multi-user devices, allows you to limit your risk, normally most useful in public-facing situations like schools or libraries. And if any attack still makes it through the first 5 layers, they're going to arrive at the final and most powerful layer, deep freeze, which is unique to Faronics. Deep freeze is a powerful reset button. If you press it, deep freeze will eliminate anything bad forever, and it's going to restore your computer back to its original state in seconds. Deep freeze makes your devices extremely resilient, so whatever a hacker does, you can recover it. So put together, these layers are a very strong ally that are going to save your time dealing with problems caused in multi-user estates. You're just going to spend less time fixing computers and more time on productive activities. We've got 33,000 customers around the world, and their security is very strong. So a couple of quotes from happy customers. Anti-executable and deep freeze are doing what they advertise. So Phil, who manages a public access environment, um, those those computers that Phil's running are kept safe by anti-executable and deep freeze. And then Brian as well, his computers are running faster, more network efficiency, and more effective against malware. We have a very friendly help team, support team. You're definitely going to be talking to real people rather than robots. Help's always going to be one click away, and migrating is not going to be a scary process at all. There's a free 30-day trial available for anyone who would like to check it out for themselves. If you go to faronicscloud.com, you'll be able to find out more information about Faronics Cloud, how it can help you as an IT manager in a multi-user environment. We're very confident that it can save you time, make you more secure, make you more efficient, and make your life a lot easier. Yeah, so please check out faronicscloud.com for more information. But thanks very much for everyone's time today. Great to be with you, and we look forward to meeting you soon. Thanks very much. Bye bye.